whoever takes on this mantle?
Sure. So the new First Minister will have a full in tray. The normal problems, the problems that every leader is facing right now: cost of living, energy prices, economics, but also education and NHS wait times. At the same time, they'll be faced with reunifying their party after this bitter contest and figuring out, and after the UK government has said no to another referendum and the Supreme Court has backed them up on that, how to pursue the SNP's raison d'etre, that of independence.
And that battle for independence, which is at the heart of the SNP, it wasn't something that enormously featured in the campaign, and perhaps unusually. You know, that all sides, all of the candidates, of course, will be in favour of it. But big questions for the SNP about whether it is the right time to put it again to the public.
Of course, and we see from the polling that the population is roughly evenly divided between those in favour of independence and those against independence. So in order to move the dial on that, something will have to happen. But is that possible at a time of pretty significant political and economic uncertainty?
How damaged do you think the party has been, and indeed has it been damaged at all by this campaign? Because it is, as you said in your first answer, it has always been a party that's been very tightly controlled, very strategic in how they operate, a very close ship. But we've seen a lot of differences within the party over the last few weeks.
Absolutely, and there's a few main divides over the pursuit of independence, over the Gender Recognition Reform Act. And it'll be difficult to put that coalition back together. Historically, the party has been focused on pursuing its independence objective. It's a broad church of a party, which incorporates lots of different ideologies and opinions on things beyond independence. But how do you get everyone moving in the same direction again?
And in terms of the membership of the SNP, of course, it's only just revealed in the last few weeks that its membership wasn't 100,000, it was around the 70,000 mark. Why do you think they've lost so much support over the last year?
So we don't have great member surveys of the SNP in recent years. So we can speculate, though. We can speculate that people left because they were impatient about independence, or perhaps they were disillusioned with the party's support or pursuit of gender recognition reform. But we don't really know why we saw that quite dramatic jump. It's still a huge party in terms of its membership. But is that membership more or less cohesive after those 30,000 have departed?
And we don't know why they've left, but do we know where they've gone to? Do we know whether these are people who are now politically disenfranchised, or have they gone to Labour, have they gone to Conservative, have they gone to the Greens?
We don't know, because we haven't seen the membership numbers from the other parties. So they may have just opted out of party politics for the time being. They may have just let their memberships lapsed, but they might have also gone to other parties, or they might be an opportunity for other parties to pursue.
And of the campaign itself, I mean, yes, it has been a little bit bad-tempered, some would say, but what have you made of it?
It's an interesting campaign which is focused more on devolution and the quality of governance and the policies of the party of government rather than the pursuit of independence. So we have seen these kind of bad-tempered exchanges, whether the last 13 years of government is one of mediocrity, or is it a high-quality government, people defending their records and attacking the records of their opponents. So it has been focused on the policy issues that are facing people, things around the performance of the Scottish economy, around the bringing in of the bottle deposit scheme, gender recognition, etc.
Okay. Corey, we'll be coming back to you in a minute, but we can cross now to Conor Gillis, who is at Murrayfield, where that announcement's going to be made in less than 10 minutes' time. Excitement presumably building there, Conor. Are there any rumours? Are you able to see any huddles of any of the particular teams to give us any clues?
Yeah, excitement building from each of the three camps here at Murrayfield in the last few minutes. Just here is the Humza Yousaf camp, his supporters. Over on the other side of the room, just beyond the podium there, is the supporters for Kate Forbes, and then a much smaller audience supporting Ash Regan in this contest as well. Some well-known faces here in Scotland in terms of members of the Scottish Parliament backing Humza Yousaf. He has the clear support, the clear majority support from the elected officials here in Scotland when it comes to this contest. Kate Forbes, well, she lost quite a sizable amount of support early on in this contest. many politicians pulling out of her campaign because of those comments that she made around her faith, saying that she would have voted against equal marriage had she been an MSP here in Scotland at the time. She then went on to tell Sky News that she thought because of her faith that it would be wrong to have children outside of marriage. At that point, many of these politicians said, we're cutting our losses, we're not supporting Kate Forbes in a way that we maybe thought we would do initially. Let me just talk you through the choreography of exactly what will happen. So we've got the huddle of the press photographers just up there. We can see beside the podium and the stage itself the live television cameras about to bring you that moment in just a few minutes. We'll bring it to you here on Sky News as well. We are expecting the business convener from the SNP, an MP called Kirsten Oswald, to take to the stage and to make some opening remarks. And at that point then, the National Secretary, Lorna Flynn, will deliver the result that everyone is waiting for here in Edinburgh today. It has been a long contest. But many people have suggested, others have said it wasn't long enough. This has thrown the SNP into arguably its most difficult position in quite a number of years here in Scotland. The candidates, the three candidates, two of whom are serving cabinet ministers in Nicola Sturgeon's now former government, I suppose. Live on television, it was a slagging match at times around each of their track records. And whether they have done a good enough job and whether that will steer them into this highest office in the land, the position of First Minister of Scotland. And the SNP has been through a pretty bruising encounter as well. It revealed during this contest, after pretty sustained pressure, I think it's fair to say, membership numbers, dwindling membership numbers. It initially said it was not going to reveal those numbers. It had been thought around 100,000 members were taking part in this shock contest following Nicola Sturgeon's resignation. The party refused on a number of occasions to reveal its figures, and then came that pressure, and suddenly it revealed a drop of around 30,000 members of the Scottish National Party in the last 18 months, and an even bigger, steep decline in the last few months following that row over gender reforms. It has led not only to the resignation, as we know, that's why we're here. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is going. The Deputy First Minister, John Swinney, a long-standing ally of Nicola Sturgeon. He's been in government for very many years. He's been at the top of the SNP hierarchy for decades. He's going. The head of communications for the SNP quit as well over that membership row that we have just been discussing. And then latterly came that pressure from the Chief Executive, Peter Murrell, who quit as well. Now, it's just got very quiet here in the room. We are just a few minutes away, 5 minutes or so from the moment itself. More people are filing in, including the campaign manager. So let's just go over here and see what's going on here. We'll just bring you along the back, the row of cameras ready to take in this moment. And that is Humza Yousaf's campaign manager, just taking his at the front. Just in front of us here are all the journalists who have been
Conor, I don't know if you can hear me. I think you may have strayed a little bit too far. We're just now lost your microphone. So maybe if you could move back a little bit closer. But as Conor moves back a little closer towards us, let's bring back in Corey Brown-Swan, who's here with me. And Corey, we were talking to John Curtis, the polling expert, a little earlier, and he was pointing out one key thing that's going to happen as a result of this is that whoever wins, be it Humza Yousaf or Kate Forbes, it does seem very unlikely it'll be Ash Regan, that they've got really different challenges, haven't they? That Humza Yousaf has to look outwards, has to get more people involved in the SNP, has to bring in more people to it, whereas it seems that Kate Forbes is going to have to do a lot of work to bring people on side inside the party.
Of course. So I think Humza Yousaf has the challenge of building a case for independence, reaching out beyond the SNP. While Kate Forbes' attentions in the first months and weeks and months of her term will have to be restoring that trust within the SNP, building that coalition, the coalition within the SNP, and then perhaps some sort of continued relationship with the Greens, who've been quite critical of Kate Forbes in recent weeks.
It's brought the campaign itself has also brought a lot of people to question the links between faith and politics, and whether or not you can have a very strong faith and whether or not that conflicts with politics, and whether it's possible to hold the two separately and together.
Yes, definitely. So it's been something that we perhaps didn't expect to be discussing at the very beginning of this campaign, but we have seen these discussions, both of Kate Forbes' faith and how that might impact her policy making were she to become First Minister. She has said, well, a person of strong religious faith should be able to govern, and would govern in a way that was acceptable to people. It's really up to the SNP membership whether that is the case in the end.
But Humza Yousaf also, of course, a religious man. Do you think that she's perhaps been unfairly focused on throughout this?
I think Humza Yousaf was perhaps a bit more polished in his delivery of answers, or his delivery and his argument that his faith wouldn't necessarily impact his governing. Kate Forbes obviously has had that challenge of being questioned on matters of religion and how that would impact her perspective on things, and whether Scotland would truly be progressive under her leadership. But I do think there's perhaps a double standard. Perhaps people feel less comfortable speaking about different religions that are not the majority religion, when questioning political candidates.
I think we can go back to Conor Gillis, who is there in the room. Can you hear us now, Conor? What's going on there?
Yeah, here we go. This moment is coming in the next few seconds. In the last moment or so, Kate Forbes, her husband, has taken his seat along with their newborn baby. Of course, Kate Forbes has been on maternity leave from her role as the head of the country's economy, and they have taken their position here. Just in the far distance, you can see a row of empty chairs. That is where some people from Ash Regan's camp still have to take their place here, coming in to sit down now, and quite a sizable number just beside us here where we are standing at the edge of this room for Humza Yousaf. So we are expecting this to happen in the next 30 seconds or so. The candidates will emerge through a door in the other corner of this room, and we will have the business convener from the SNP welcoming the guests, welcoming the journalists, and of course welcoming everyone watching at home, because this is not just a contest to elect the leader of the Scottish National Party. This is, of course, ultimately who is likely to become the next First Minister in a formal ceremony at Holyrood tomorrow, a formal vote that will take place. So there's a lot at stake here, and this is what will be being revealed in the next couple of seconds or so. We are expecting to find out the total number of votes cast, and then crucially how those votes were split. Now, this voting system will be, all ears are out for if any of the three candidates get 50% of the vote plus one. At that point, we will know the way that this is going. I'm just looking in the far distance as we await for this moment for those candidates. The room is packed to the rafters with cameras, with journalists, ready to catch this moment, because of course, let's remember, the SNP has not been in this position for almost 20 years. No leadership contest similar to this since Alex Salmond was elected to the leader of the party. So this is unfamiliar territory for the SNP, who of course are Scotland's largest party, who are, I think it's fair to say, an election-winning operation. Under Nicola Sturgeon's watch, won each of the elections that they fought, and that will be the task for whoever takes over here in Edinburgh in the next few minutes. How will they pick up the mantle from what Nicola Sturgeon and her predecessor Alex Salmond have built over the course of the last 15, 20 years here in Scotland? Will that electoral success continue? Will opposition politicians take advantage of this change in leadership and try and capitalise in it in a way that they have failed to do over the course of the last decade? Certainly Labour hoping for that, hoping to take advantage here in Scotland. Now, I'm just telling you that we're 2 minutes past 2 as it stands, and all eyes are still firmly fixed on the corner of this room for the candidates to come through and to reveal this moment.
As you were saying, obviously this
person
is going to be the next leader of the SNP, but it isn't a given that they will become First Minister. I mean, it would be extraordinary if they didn't. But just talk us through what happens after they've become the leader of the SNP and the mechanisms for them then becoming First Minister.
Yes, so that is true. This afternoon we will, of course, in the next few minutes get the result of who will become the SNP leader. But there is a process, unlike at Westminster, where tomorrow MSPs will gather at Holyrood, and there will be a moment for a vote. And at that point, it is highly likely, given the numbers we're talking about here in terms of the SNP's numbers within Holyrood, that whoever is standing on the podium within the next few minutes will be that next First Minister. Let's not rule anything out. You can't rule anything out in politics at the moment, but I think it's a fairly... we can conclude that without doubt. But let's just also think as well around the in-tray of issues that await this new SNP leader. First of all, the issue of independence, that mission that Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond failed to deliver. Of course, Mr Salmond brought Scotland to the brink of independence back in 2014. But many, I think, within the party have been unhappy at how the dial has not shifted further, given the issues that the party sees around Brexit over the course of the last few years. The dial hasn't shifted as much as many of the itching members of the Scottish National Party would like. How will this new leader shift the dial on that? And then, of course, we've got other issues like the health service, which opponents would suggest is in crisis at the moment. One of the candidates standing here, due to walk through this door any second now, Humza Yousaf, has been in charge of Scotland's health service for a number of years, and critics have been damning of his record waiting times for patients. How will he or Kate Forbes or Ash Regan turn the fortunes of the health service around? And then, of course, there's the other big issue that the SNP has been grappling with over the course of the last few months and has led to infighting in a way that has not been the case over the course of the last few years within the SNP, the issue around gender reforms. Now, Humza Yousaf has said he fully supports that legislation that was passed just before Christmas. But it is a very different story altogether from Kate Forbes and Ash Regan. Forbes' position, she told Sky News just a few weeks ago in the early days of this contest that she would not be in favour of 16 and 17-year-olds being able to legally change their gender. Ash Regan in a similar boat, and they would not entertain this, and the moment is now happening. Let's listen to him.
And And Conor, while we wait for that announcement, just remind us about the voting system here. It's a single transferable vote system, isn't it? A bit the same that they are walking in. Let's just listen in. Let's listen in. Try and get some of the atmosphere.
Good afternoon and welcome to Murrayfield. My name is Kirsten Oswald and I am the SNP Business Convener. And I'm delighted to be here today at the culmination of this election contest to choose our new SNP leader. The contest has taken our three candidates the length and breadth of Scotland. They've beamed into our living rooms via TV debates and they've worked tirelessly to engage with members all over the country. So this is a historic moment for the SNP. And as we look forward to our new leader, I want to thank Nicola Sturgeon for her exceptional leadership over the past 8.5 years. I'd also like to convey my thanks to the candidates, to our members, and to everyone at SNP HQ and our National Executive Committee who've worked so hard behind the scenes to deliver this important exercise in party democracy. And I'm delighted to welcome to the stage to announce our new leader, Lorna Finn, SNP National Secretary. As National Secretary of the SNP, I have been given the results of the party leader election 2023 from my voice, the Ballot Services Company. These are as follows. The final number of eligible members was 72,169. A total of 50,494 ballot papers containing a valid vote were received. There were 3 rejected postal ballot papers. The turnout was therefore 70%. 48,645 of the ballots were cast electronically and 1,849 of the ballots were cast by post. The first preference votes are as follows. Ash Regan, 5,599. This represents 11.1% of the first preference vote. Kate Forbes, 20,559. This represents 40.7% of the first preference vote. Humza Yousaf, 24,336. This represents 48.2% of the first preference vote. As no candidate received more than 50% of the votes, Ash Regan, as the candidate who received the least number of first preferences, was eliminated, and the second preference votes in favour of Kate Forbes or Humza Yousaf were given to them. The result after those votes were redistributed was as follows. Kate Forbes, 23,890. This represents 47.9% of the final vote. Humza Yousaf, 26,032. This represents 52.1% of the final vote. I therefore declare Humza Yousaf duly elected as the Scottish National Party leader. Congratulations, Humza. And I now invite you up to say a few words.
Can I begin by thanking our National Secretary, Lorna Finn, and also can I thank our headquarters staff for all the incredible efforts that they have made right throughout this process. It is hard for me to find the words to describe just how honoured I am to be entrusted by our membership of the SNP to be the party's next leader and to be on the cusp of being our country's next First Minister. Can I begin by paying tribute to my colleagues, both Kate and Ash? During almost 20 hustings, it's probably felt like we've seen each other more than we have our respective families. You both have put in an incredible shift, and I know that collectively we will continue to work hard as part of Team SNP. I am not just humbled of that, I most certainly am. I also feel like the luckiest man in the world to be standing here as the leader of the SNP, a party I joined almost 20 years ago and that I love so dearly. Friends, it was the late John Smith, and he got it absolutely right when he said, "The opportunity to serve our country is all we ask. To serve my country as First Minister will be the greatest privilege and honour of my life, should Parliament decide to elect me as Scotland's next First Minister tomorrow." And just as I will lead the SNP in the interests of all party members, not just those who voted for me, so I will aim to lead Scotland in the interests of all of our citizens, whatever your political allegiance. If elected as your First Minister after tomorrow's vote in Parliament, know that I will be a First Minister for all of Scotland, that I will work every minute of every day to earn and to re-earn your respect and your trust. I will do that by treating you, the people of Scotland, with respect. There will be no empty promises or easy sound bites when the issues in front of us are difficult and complex, because government is not easy, and I won't pretend that it is. My immediate priority will be to continue to protect every Scot as far as we possibly can from the harm inflicted by the cost of living crisis, to recover and reform our NHS and other vital public services, to support our well-being economy, to improve the life chances of people right across this country. I will move quickly to develop plans to extend childcare, to improve rural housing, support small businesses and boost innovation. I will bring forward reforms of the criminal justice system. I'll work with local government to empower our local authorities. And as First Minister, I will not shy away from those exceptionally tough challenges that require the difficult decisions. But where there's challenge, I will use it to also find opportunity. My government will seize the economic and social opportunity that the journey to net zero will bring. A country as energy-rich as Scotland should not have people living in fuel poverty. The government I lead will renew and redouble our efforts to lift people out of poverty, to make work fair, to make our economy work for the people, and to ensure, as we become a more prosperous country, we also become a fairer country too. And while I have had my fair share of battles with the UK government over the years, and there may well be some to come, I will work with them and other devolved nations constructively where I can in the best interests of our nation. I'm a proud Scot, and equally a proud European too, and Scotland is a European nation. We want to return to the European Union and play our part in building a continent that's based on human rights, on peace, prosperity and social justice. To the people of Scotland, the SNP has earned your trust by governing well, by ensuring that your priorities are our priorities. As a party and as a government, we are at our best when we are radical and bold. And the challenges we face today, they require nothing less of us. That is what I promised the people of Scotland, if Parliament, of course, puts its trust in me tomorrow. Joining the SNP, for me, was an act of hope, but it was also a statement of intent. I was determined then, as I am now, that we will deliver independence for Scotland, together, as a team. Leadership elections, by their very nature, can be bruising. However, in the SNP, we are a family. Over the last 5 weeks, we may have been competitors or supporters of different candidates. We are no longer Team Humza or Team Ash or Team Kate. We are one team, and we will be the team. We will be the generation that delivers independence for Scotland. Where there are divisions to heal, we must do so quickly, because we have a job to do. As a party, we are at our strongest when we are united. And what unites us is our shared goal of delivering independence for our nation. To those in Scotland who don't yet quite share that passion that I do for independence, I will aim to earn your trust by continuing to ensure we govern well, and earn your respect as First Minister by focusing on the priorities that matter to all of us. And in doing so, using our devolved powers to the absolute maximum effect to tackle the challenges of the day. And for those of us in this room and watching who do believe in independence, we will only win by making that case on the doorsteps. And my solemn promise and commitment to you is that I will kickstart our grassroots, our civic-led movement, and ensure our drive for independence is in fifth gear. The people of Scotland need independence now more than ever before, and we will be the generation that delivers independence for Scotland. Before concluding, I want to take the opportunity to thank some very, very special people indeed, and I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the support and the encouragement of a number of hard-working people. First of all, there is my amazing wife, Nadia. She is not just my rock, she is my compass, who helps to guide me through the most difficult times in life. There is no way, not a chance in hell, that I would be standing here if it was not for your love, for your support, and for your advice. Thank you for believing in me and for always being there for me. I will love you more, and I do love you more than words, more than the words that I can find to express. To my girls, this job will at times be all-consuming, I suspect, but know that there is no more important job in my life than being your dad. To Maya and Amal, you will always, always come first. To my mum, to my dad, to my sisters, thank you for your unwavering support throughout my life, for picking me up when I have been down and for telling me to keep going when at times I had my doubts. I'd also like to thank my phenomenal campaign team. You have worked day and night over the last few weeks to support me. You've all sacrificed time with your family and your friends because, like me, you believe in our vision of a progressive, socially just Scotland, and I will not let you down. A special mention to Neil Gray. He is quite simply the best cornerman I could have asked for. During the roller coaster of emotion that is any leadership contest, you have been by my side, and there is no way I would have made it to the finish line without your support. And to my good friend and colleague, Shona Robison, your wise counsel has been indispensable to me during this contest. To our now former leader, Nicola Sturgeon, and her deputy in government, John Swinney, thank you for your dedicated service to this party, to our country, and to all the people of Scotland. You have left me strong foundations to build upon. And thank you to my colleagues in both parliaments, across local government, and activists around the country who have been so supportive and so encouraging. I will ensure that I harness all of the talent across the party and across the country as I build that team that will take Scotland forward to deliver our nation's independence. From our brilliant MPs, led ably by Stephen Flynn and by Mary Black in Westminster, to our leaders in local government, as well as our exceptional group of MSPs in the Scottish Parliament, our Parliament has an array of talent right through its ranks. Our parliamentarians, our councillors, our activists, our members, all have a vital part to play on our journey to independence, as do our friends right across the independence movement. To have your confidence as I take on the role as SNP leader means so much to me. My final thanks is to my grandparents. Unfortunately, they're no longer alive to see this day, but I'm forever thankful that my grandparents made the trip from Punjab to Scotland over 60 years ago. As immigrants to this country who knew barely a word of English, they could not have imagined in their wildest dreams that their grandson would one day be on the cusp of being the next First Minister of Scotland. As Humza Yousaf worked in the Singer sewing machine factory in Clydebank, as Rahmat Ali Bhutta stamp tickets on the Glasgow Corporation buses. They could not have imagined, as I say, in their wildest dreams, that 2 generations later, that their grandson would one day be on the cusp of being Scotland's First Minister. We should all take pride in the fact that today we have sent a clear message that your colour of skin, or indeed your faith, is not a barrier to leading the country that we all call home. From the Punjab to our Parliament, this is a journey over generations that reminds us we should be celebrating and always celebrate the migrants who contribute so much to our country. This is what drives my commitment to equality, that will underpin my actions as First Minister. Thank you for the honour of choosing me to be your nominee to become Scotland's 6th First Minister. I will dedicate every waking moment to serving you, the people of Scotland. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we are going to take some questions from the press. I think there was a list that was given to me. We'll come to that shortly. There we go. We're going to take some questions here from the press. BBC, James Cook.
Thanks very much indeed. Congratulations on the historic nature of your election victory. You have suggested during this campaign that it will be difficult to fill the shoes of Nicola Sturgeon as a politician of considerable stature. And yet on the central defining mission of your party, independence, ultimately, she failed. What makes you think you can succeed where she couldn't?
So first and foremost, I want to pay tribute again to Nicola Sturgeon because she has left us with a really strong foundation. And we will build upon that foundation. I will build upon that foundation. But it won't just be me. I'm going to build the team that's going to deliver independence. I've already spoken throughout this campaign of how much admiration I have for both the colleagues who joined me in this leadership contest. But I've also spoken about the array of talent in the parliaments, Scottish, Westminster Parliament, across local government, that will help to build that team that delivers independence. So it's thanks to Nicola Sturgeon, it's thanks to John Swinney, it's thanks to those strong foundations that they've left us that we will go on to finish the job. Thanks, James. Colin Mackay, STV.
Congratulations. This has been a bruising contest for your party. The result shows just how divided it is. How do you start by uniting your party and then regaining the trust of the people of Scotland in a Scottish government?
Well, first and foremost, after I've spoken to the media, one of the first meetings I expect to have and would like to have it will be with Kate and Ash, because it is important that the party comes together. I tried to stress that in my opening, in my remarks, that we are at our strongest as a party when we are united. And what unites us is the goal of delivering independence for Scotland. So, of course, election contests, by their nature, can be challenging. They can open up some divisions. But I've got no doubt, not just faith in myself, but I have absolute faith in my colleagues Ash and in Kate that we will come together. And there will be no Team Humza, there will be no Team Kate, there will be no Team Ash, there will be Team SNP. And it will be Team SNP that will deliver independence for our country. Kieran, Channel 4.
Congratulations. Does this outcome tell you that obviously a lot of people wanted your opponent to win, almost 48% of them offering quite a different approach? And you were the continuity candidate in this election. Does this result tell you that continuity won't cut it?
Well, I'm delighted to be standing here as the person that the majority of membership have put their faith in. But what I will do is, of course, reach across the divides that may well exist. I've always said, as much as I admire and respect Nicola, and I really do, I will be my own man. I will do leadership my own way. And one of those ways will be to have as big a tent as possible. And that includes, of course, the various different platforms that have been put forward by my colleagues. I want to speak to them as soon as I'm finished speaking to you, because we have to harness not just the talent, but the ideas that my colleagues have brought forward. So, as I have said to the other colleagues who have already asked questions, I don't view this as there being factions or teams. It's going to be one team that is going to deliver us independence. And in terms of the government, we are still, of course, the party that is more trusted than any other political party in Scotland. I'll not take that for granted. I'll not be complacent about that. But we have won the trust of the people of Scotland because we have delivered for them. And that is my aim, to continue to deliver for the people of Scotland. Conor. Just behind you.
Congratulations, first of all. The polls were suggesting throughout the contest that you, of the three candidates, were the most incompetent, weak and untrustworthy. How are you going to turn that around and not fail on the SNP's election-winning machine that it has been over the course of the last few years?
Well, I'm delighted to have been part of that election-winning machine and being part of government for 10.5 years. But on top of that, of course, I'm delighted that when I've stood for election, I've been elected and re-elected with a big majority from the people of Glasgow Pollock, who I'd like to thank in putting their trust in me over the years. But what I'll make sure I do is I govern, and govern in the interest of the people of Scotland. But also, we win the trust of the people of Scotland when we govern and we align with their priorities. Their priorities have to be our priorities. And of course, they will look to us for delivery, and I will do my best to deliver what is their priorities. And at the moment, I don't have to tell anybody in this room that people are suffering from a cost of living crisis. That'll be my first and immediate priority, to try to help them in that regard. So I've got every confidence, not just in my own ability, but frankly in the ability of the exceptional SNP team that exists not just in the Scottish Parliament, as good and exceptional as my MSP colleagues are, but right across the parliaments and local government and our activist base too. Glenn Campbell.
Congratulations on being elected. How can you possibly hope to unite the country if you're still going to be pushing hard for independence?
Well, independence for me is a golden thread that runs through so many of our priority and policy areas. The reason why we can only mitigate the cost of living crisis is because it is a crisis that's inflicted by Westminster. We're doing so with one hand tied behind our backs. The reason why we can only invest in our public services as much as we can is because, again, our budget, our fixed budget, is controlled by a Westminster government. So while we will deliver the priorities of the people of Scotland, that will be to tackle the cost of living crisis. That will be to continue to invest in our public services, our NHS, of course, in particular. It will be to make progress on our well-being economy. That does not, we will do that in tandem with making the case for independence, because independence will unleash our country's true potential. PA, Craig.
Hello.
There we go.
The turnout in this election was only 70%, so 30% of SNP members didn't even see fit to vote. What are you going to do to engage them, and is there a worry at all that membership numbers could sink even further?
No, we'll be aiming to hopefully grow those membership numbers, and I hope people are inspired not just by the contest and hopefully by the outcome as well. I hope people will join the SNP as the vehicle that will deliver independence for Scotland. In terms of the 70%, I think it's so important for not just me, but the team, the SNP team, to make sure we are putting the independent drive into fifth gear. Our members are inspired and will be inspired undoubtedly by the drive to independence. We inspire people not by getting stuck in a quagmire of process and talking about Section 30s and de facto referendums. They get inspired by talking about policy. And I've got, I hope, the skills and the ability to be able to inspire people with a vision for independence. I believe that will help us to increase our membership numbers, but also make sure all of our members are involved in that campaign. I think we have Stuart Graham from AFP. I think we've got some international media back. There's a microphone coming to you.
I was just wondering, with independence, do you have a timeline of when you'd like to see that happen? And how would you convince those, you seem to be stuck on 45%, the SNP, the same figure as in 2014. Many people I speak to are not convinced about the economic plan the SNP has. How are you going to reassure those people and make them feel comfort that it's in their interest to vote for independence?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our colleagues in the Scottish media have been asking me this for 5 weeks' time, and I'll give you the same answer that I give them, which is, of course, process, while it is important. The key to gaining independence is ensuring we have that consistent majority support for independence. We have that settled will for independence. If we have that, the political obstacles that are put in our way by Westminster, well, they will disappear. So the concentration will be on kickstarting that civic-led, grassroots, people-led movement and growing consistent support for independence. And of course, the economic plan is absolutely key to that. So we have, of course, published papers already on that, but I think we've got more work absolutely to do to convince people. We wouldn't be standing here if that wasn't the case. So one of the first things I'll get on with doing, as well as governing and delivering and governing well, I hope, will also be to make sure we kickstart that independence movement. Maria, forgive me, from Al Jazeera. Nope. Okay, I'll keep going. We've got Alan Smith from Bauer.
Congratulations. In response to the question from Colin, you said in terms of uniting the party, speaking with both Kate and Ash, does that mean there'll be room around your cabinet table for both of your leadership rivals? And just secondly, in terms of the vote, just over 26,000 first and second preference votes means you become SNP leader, ultimately becoming First Minister. What do you say then in response to opposition parties who will claim that you have no mandate to govern and perhaps there should be an election?
So, look, I salute the fact that you've been asking me for weeks now, Alan, for exclusive on my cabinet. That is something, of course, that I'll be giving consideration to and announcing in due course. But I've never shied away from saying both Kate and Ash are not just exceptional talents within our party, but have clearly got a role to play, and continued role in Scottish public life. In terms of the mandate, of course, Parliament will have its say tomorrow. Although I am party leader at the moment, there will be a vote and there will be an opportunity for the opposition to put their candidate forward. It is not by coincidence or somehow good fortune that we are the largest party in that Scottish Parliament. It is down to the fact that the people of Scotland have given us that mandate, have put their trust in us. And tomorrow, as I say, I will be one of the nominees, certainly, to be First Minister of Scotland, and others will have their chance too. Jack from Global Radio.
Congratulations. You take over leader of the SNP at a time when there are a lot of question marks over the party's finances. There have been renewed reports over the weekend over accusations of quite murky financial dealings there. What are you going to do as leader to reassure the members of your party, but also the people in Scotland who are concerned about that, and to reassure them that this isn't an issue?
Well, again, I suspect I'll get up to speed very quickly on the financial health of the party. It's not something I've obviously been involved in, not holding an office-bearer position within the party. But what I would say is that our party will be transparent in terms of the finances. And of course, I couldn't comment on what is a current live investigation either, but I suspect it will be one of the very first conversations I have as party leader to understand the financial health of the SNP. We'll go to some print colleagues as well. Paul, at the Daily Record.
Hi there. You're going to lead a government that is struggling on a range of fronts. Your party is under police investigation over its finances, and the chief executive resigned after lies were told about membership numbers. So haven't you got the worst job in Scottish politics?
I've got the best job in Scottish politics, by far. The honour and the privilege of not just leading the SNP, but potentially being Scotland's next First Minister. I inherit a party that is the most popular in Scotland by quite some distance. I inherit a party that has the largest membership by quite some considerable distance. I have inherited a leader, the government, that has a record of achievement that would be the envy of any other government, not just across these islands, but in many other parts of the world too. Are there challenges? You betcha. In government, there always are. I've been in government for 10.5 years. I've never been in a portfolio and never seen a portfolio where there aren't challenges. But that is why we step up. We step up to lead, and I hope by governing well, we will also lead people to independence. The Sun, Rachel.
Thank you. Just on, you have said that you want to unite Scotland on this, but then you, in the hustings, you spoke a lot about independence referendum. You were asked questions about 5 years, for example. Would Scotland be independence within 5 years? You said you want to govern for all Scotland and represent everyone, no matter their political beliefs. How do you square that? Are you not just going to be as divisive as Nicola Sturgeon felt she was when she left?
Well, again, Nicola Sturgeon enjoyed huge amounts of support. Her leadership through the COVID pandemic, in particular, saw so many people who told me, certainly on the doorsteps, that they wouldn't even have been contemplated voting for the SNP. But it's the leadership that she showed during that period. And so too must I and the government that I lead. We must show leadership. We must deliver for the priorities of the people of Scotland. I've already outlined what I think those priorities are. If we do that, then we win the trust of people. If we win the trust of people, they will undoubtedly be persuaded by our message on independence. So we can do both. We can both campaign for independence. I don't think anybody would expect the leader of the SNP to say anything other than that. But we can also make sure that we deliver rightly for the people of Scotland and their priorities too. We've got the National. Abby.
Hi there. Hi, Humza, congratulations. Just wanted to ask a quick couple of questions. So obviously everything goes well tomorrow. Hi, I'm over here. Obviously everything goes well tomorrow. You will be First Minister. So what is the first thing you're going to do to bring Scotland closer to independence? And obviously you'd done an interview with our newspaper during the campaign trail, and you said that your cabinet, which I know you said you didn't want to give away today, that you would appoint a Minister for Independence. So just wondering if you had made any decisions on that yet.
I will stick to those commitments that I made, of course, during the campaign trail. And for me, one of the first things I want to do is see how we kickstart that civic-led campaign for independence. It's got to be a grassroots-led. It can't just be political leaders sitting in a room devising strategies on the way forward. As important as the leadership is of those who belong in the independence movement, it's got to be a civic-led, people-led movement that drives forward the campaign for independence. In terms of cabinet ministerial appointments, of course, I'll make them known in due course. Daily Mail, Michael Blackley.
Hi, hello. In terms of two issues that have divided the country, you talk about reaching out to non-yes voters. Two of the key issues have been the continued push for independence, which you've talked quite substantially about today. Will you continue to use public money and civil service time drawing up the prospectus for independence? And on the GRR bill, will you be challenging the UK government's Section 35 order?
So generally, I think when a party wins an election, and as thoroughly as the SNP has, it has every right, of course, to make sure it makes good on the promises in its manifesto, and we will do that. And of course, the civil service will help us to deliver on all of our manifesto, which includes, of course, independence. We won the election quite comprehensively in 2021. So just as the UK government have the right to use their civil service to pursue their ambitions around the Constitution, it should be no surprise that we will work with the civil service to do the same for independence. In terms of the GRR bill, I've made my position absolutely clear on the Section 35. I see it as a veto, as a power grab by the UK government. I don't think they have any right to have used that Section 35 power, given that the majority of Holyrood, of course, backed the GRR bill. So, of course, my first principle, my starting principle, is to challenge that Section 35 order. Peter, I've been waiting very patiently from ITV Borders. There's a microphone coming to Peter here. Or you can project if you wish. Is there a microphone coming?
I hope this is worth waiting for.
So do I.
When you were in Dumfries in March campaigning, you said we should plant our flag in the ground right here to let people know that they are not forgotten, people in the southwest and south of Scotland. And secondly, that we intend to persuade every single person of the merits of independence. That's why I want to start the campaign for independence right here. So firstly, how do you persuade people in the south of Scotland that they haven't been forgotten? And secondly, when will you be going to Dumfries to launch your campaign?
Very soon, because I believe that the only way we win our independence is persuading those, of course, who voted no and are still not persuaded by the case for independence. And therefore, we have to take the case to not just Dumfries and Galloway, to the borders, to the south of Scotland. And we do that, again, by governing well. We make sure that there are opportunities for people in the south of Scotland. We make sure we invest in the infrastructure in the south of Scotland. We make sure we support the well-being economy of the south of Scotland. And we do that by governing and governing well. Forgive me, I've just been told minutes ago that I'm leader of the SNP. I'll need to check the diary, but I'll be getting to Dumfriesshire as soon as I possibly can. I'll need to leave it there because there are a range of other commitments that I have to make. I want to thank you again to the members of the SNP, to our parliamentarians who are seated here, to our campaign team, and most importantly to my family for all the support and all the encouragement that they have given me. We have a lot of work to do and get on with, so I suggest we get on with it. Thank you very much.
Well, there we have it. Humza Yousaf is the new leader of the SNP, the Scottish National Party. 70% of the SNP electorate that were able to vote voted, and he won comprehensively. He won on the first round, but not enough to give him a full mandate.